is just a faded memory now. 2025 sees the Crusaders back where they've been so often the champions of Super Rugby.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Rugby Scoop podcast. Champions once again, 13 times unmatched. The Crusaders have done it again in Christchurch. What a final it was between the Chiefs and the Crusaders. This is the Rugby Scoop. I'm not by myself. I am with Hugh Griffin, Vuyozanga, Jade Craig. Griff, you're first on my list. How's it going over there? How are you doing? How's the weekend been?
All good, mate. All good. It was my dad's birthday, so went up to see him. Went out in Manchester, so a little bit worse for wear today, but we're here. We're talking rugby. All things are good.
Fantastic. Happy birthday to your old man as well. Vickers, you are up and awake on a Sunday night. How are things over there?
Yeah, all good, bro. I actually almost cancelled. I'm back in South Africa. I'm back in South Africa, but just came to collect the family. So packed up the house yesterday. Flew up to Joburg this morning. So I'm rough. I'm feeling rough a little bit.
Ooh, I can imagine. And you also have a very long flight, huh?
Yes, but we'll spend the week here. Then we'll fly probably next weekend.
Okay. No, fair enough. Safe trip in that regard. Craig, Jade, the weatherman. How are things? Oh, new coach coaching the under ones.
Yeah, I took on the big responsibility of coaching my son's under 5 rugby team at the tournament held in the Craig College over the weekend on Friday actually. Yeah, let's just say it was fun to do, but also a hard job. And now I understand how certain coaches like Jake White feel after the game.
Ooh, spicy right off the bat. Guys, as usual, breaking news or news making headlines this past week. And then once we're done with that, we jump on to the Crusaders and the Chiefs final. Then we've got Argentina pulling off a big one on Friday against the British and Irish Lions. Plenty to talk about there. And then we look at the international season is upon us, finally. Woof, what a wait. And then I think top 14 final is coming up soon, Griffin, right?
Next weekend, man. Next weekend.
Fantastico. We'll tap into that as well. And then we look at the international games that will take place next week. Without wasting any time, Jade, the final yesterday, Crusaders, Chiefs, amazing game, good defensive work. But at the end of the day, tactics that won the game for the Crusaders, their kicking game came into effect in the second half. But what are your thoughts of that game? What are your thoughts on the final? But the Chiefs could not do it. 3-0, Jake White stuff in the finals. What's happening?
Yeah, no, Clayton Mack got this, for him being a brilliant coach, I mean, he's got this record now at the Chiefs where they've been brilliant all season, especially this season. I mean, if they had won it, I mean, everybody would have said well deserved. I mean, they've been the form team right through, but what a performance yesterday in the final from Crusaders. I think both teams defensively outstanding. We're looking at 5 line breaks between both teams whole game. And with all that attacking power, the likes of both Jordan, Seville Reese, I mean, Quinton Pai, David McKenzie. There was over 162 carries for the Crusaders, 115 carries. I'm looking at the stats for the Chiefs, and only 5 line breaks between the two of them. So 2 for the Chiefs and 3 for the Crusaders. That just shows you the way the game was played, and it shows, what tactics was done on the day. I think you have to look at a guy like Ravis Rayana stepping into first 5, coming in when Kimara got injured, coming in, overtaking Jock, James O'Connor. You would have thought that, Jock would get in and get the start. But Travis Rihanna really marshaled that team around the park. I mean, you spoke about it yesterday. Guys like Fletcher Newell, who came back after 2 penalties in the first 10 minutes, against him being penalized for, collapsing and not keeping his bind. And later on, he dominated. I think the Crusaders pack was awesome. Nothing flashy. No real hard runs or a lot of carries or offloads. So that was hard work. Get your head down, get the hard work, get the meters. Christian Leo, Wally, Blackadder. I mean, I said no, nothing flashy, but we all saw that the drop goal from Blackadder there. But yeah, I mean, I think the Crusaders went down, played. It was a test match at a test match field. It was an awesome game in tough conditions in Crash. It looked like it was cold. It looked like it was a bit wet underfoot. But I think, the Crusaders deserved the win yesterday. A guy like Will Jordan yesterday showing his class, coming through, being kick chases, winning the aerial battle. And that's what the Crusaders did. That's what they actually won the game in. Getting crucial balls in the aerial battle. That counted. I mean, they kept the pressure on the Chiefs throughout the game, and that was one area they wanted. For the Chiefs, I mean, I think they'll be a little bit disappointed. A few of their big-name players that didn't come to the party yesterday. Dane McKenzie won. Wallace Titi was relatively quiet. Finau had a quietish game. So I think Clayton McMillan will look back and think, you know what, I could have got a little bit more out of these guys. But for the Crusaders, after the hardest season they had last year, I mean, going, 13 times to win one Super Rugby, that's actually an unbelievable achievement from that franchise. And let's call them a franchise because, I mean, that's what they've been referring to them now recently, the franchise.
Franchise footy. Griffin, your thoughts on this final when it comes to a guy like D-Mac, right? There's been plenty of debate since Richard Mo'unga left New Zealand. Who starts at 10? D-Mac has had a very good regular season up until the final. And Beauden Barrett came up in leaps and bounds. He wasn't, a shining star throughout the season. There were moments and there were games where he stood up and probably drove that Blues team to a semi-final, for example. But I mean, it's a difficult task. It's a tall order to ask for any team to travel to Christchurch and expect to win playoffs rugby. But I mean, looking at these 2 10s for now, is the debate over for D-Mac at this point? Beauden Barrett gets to start ahead of him in the French series coming up.
Look, I think that would represent a about face from Razor, who backed D-Mac hard last season. But I think at the same time, I feel like how many more chances does D-Mac need? You talk about he's had a great Super Rugby season, didn't end on the best notes, and is now going into the All Blacks. That's been the story of D-Mac's career. That's how he is every single season. So I kind of feel like we have our answer on this guy. We've had it for a little bit. I think absolutely he's got a part to play. I don't think that in test footy these days in 2025, you need to have one guy who is the guy and never play anybody else. And it is a little bit worrying from an All Blacks point of view that if it's not D-Mac, you're going back to Bodie, who, look, is a great player. But how does that then mean that in how many years we haven't had a new man come along and stake a claim to play number 10 for the All Blacks since Richie Mo'unga? That's a little bit of a worry, isn't it? But in terms of this game, proper footy, it was a bit of a throwback game. I mean, if I just read you the stat that jumped out to me, was 138 rucks Crusaders, 100 rucks Chiefs. Now, you compare that to matches that we're seeing up in the Northern Hemisphere at the moment, you're seeing 50, 60 rucks play 70, 80 rucks. That's quite different. And who would have thought, Scoop, who would have thought that the Super Rugby title would be won by a scrum penalty? Not in this lifetime.
Fair enough. Vickers, I mean, you're backline coach, right, as well. Same question then I bring to you regarding these 2 10s. But also, I mean, what was your general feeling when you watched that final? What stood out for you in this game? I mean, it was a real battle, real arm wrestle. I mean, now even you talking about a scrum penalty at the end, right? I mean, it's not something that we saw throughout the season within Super Rugby when it comes to the breakdown and rugs. I mean, you saw a few moments or a few times where each team could put together 20 to 25 phases at one go, right? I mean, that's a lot. Oh, man, that's a lot of work, especially for those forwards. That's a lot of carrying, But obviously, nobody could break through the tight defense from both teams. I mean, it was a real physical battle. Vickers, your thoughts of this game, and then maybe that 10 question I put to Hugh earlier. Maybe you can also have a go at it.
Yeah, look, I didn't catch the whole game, but I caught most of it. I think, like you say, Scoop, the team is pushing more than 15 to 20 phases, and it means the defense was pretty solid. They were pretty good on the reload. I mean, the Chiefs, I was really surprised when I think it was the tight head of the Chiefs scored under the post. I was surprised how quickly they actually scored, because they literally got quick rucks quickly after that. Like, they had a quick ruck, and they ended up scoring when I think the eighth man or the seven just popped it to the tight head. Look, for me, the whole game, I felt like it was a real final because of the fact that it was really a good arm wrestle, and you can't take that away from the two teams having obviously performed throughout the season. They were probably the two standouts throughout the season and more consistent throughout the season. Yeah, and so for me on the 10 jersey, I don't know. It just rings alarm bells to probably Razor in terms of if Richie Moala would come back next year into the team, he's basically guaranteed going to the World Cup in 2027 and probably starting. So it just says that they haven't done enough to bring in new guys and blooding new guys in going for that 10 jersey, especially because, like you said, D-Mac was he got his chance last season. He had his failures. Bowden Barrett looked pretty good last season when he came on in the 10 jersey. And when he started on the 10 jersey with the Blues this year, he was looking pretty good. But then we have to also to remember the age of the player. So what you're saying is that really no one is there. Like you guys have been discussing Ruben Love throughout the whole season. We've been discussing a couple of youngsters. I think maybe this campaign it's 2025. You still got 2 years to build another young flyout. So maybe for Razor, it's time to give someone else a chance, because one thing that you have for sure is that you know what you have in D-Mac. It's not going to change. So just because he's not playing now doesn't mean that he's going to now become a bad player. He's not going to become a bad player. It just means that you need a little bit of competition in that jersey. Maybe he has become too complacent, and that's why his performance is so inconsistent. So for me, I think it's a matter of Razor just deciding to actually throw out a Hail Mary and back a youngster.
Yeah, I agree. And especially with the French bringing B team over. So maybe somebody off the bench, those last 10 to 15 minutes, just to get a feel of test rugby. And maybe then you can start seeing somebody put their hand up in those 3 tests. And then you can start moving them into the rugby championship. But there's opportunity at this time and at this moment. And I think if Ruben Love could be given an opportunity, I think he would step up now. Yeah, there is maybe a worry about over-eagerness from his side, or maybe trying too much at times, So he just needs to have a calmer head in those situations if he is to be the pivot to drive that All Black team. He's got the minerals, he's got the skill, he's got the pace, he's got the vision. But it's time to step up now. And I mean, it's been too long where you don't have a replacement for Richie at this point, and you've had an on and off Bowden Barrett, Damian McKenzie at that first 5 position. So it's time for somebody to step up, and I think Ruben Love now must just grab this jersey and grab that opportunity, and he could make it his own. Guys like Rivers, Rehana, maybe not yet. But it did stand up in the final yesterday, right? A guy who wasn't even in the radar, quote unquote, in the season, because they had Kamara starting at 10, they had James O'Connor as a replacement, and Rivers was almost like a third fly off. But now he stepped up. Last season, I thought Rivers was going to have a season of his lifetime, but it seemed not to be. But I'm happy that he's at least starting to warm up into that 10 position at this point. Griffin, you wanted to jump in?
Just to give you a stat about the Super Rugby playoffs, up until the final, in the playoff series, the Chiefs had kicked 10 penalty goals successfully. The Crusaders had kicked 1. In the grand final, the Crusaders kicked 3 penalty goals. The Chiefs kicked 0.
There we go, Jade. We've had this discussion before about not taking points when they are on offer. Yes, DMAC did miss a kick as well. But I mean, yeah, I hope this does not translate into the national team. But I think maybe Razor will have a different take on what New Zealand should be doing when the points are on offer.
I think the interesting thing is, you don't take the shots at 3, but they don't maul either. We've spoken about the maul on this show plenty of times. If I can just try and quickly bring up the maul stats. But in the regular season, apart from the Crusaders, the New Zealand teams weren't mauling. So more tries per game, least in the world, more in Pacifica. You got the Highlanders, 0.07 maul tries per game. That's basically none. It's filtered on Super Rugby. You got the Chiefs, 0.2. Crusaders, 0.33. And then you got the Australian teams. Blues, 0.27. Hurricanes, 0.27. So if you're not taking the 3 and you're not mauling, what are you doing with your penalties?
Run at them. Run at them until they feel no legs to run. I don't know. It's quite crazy. Jade, you also wanted to jump in.
Yeah, I don't think that's actually a fair stat, you. I think that, Crusaders disciplined very well on the day, were very good on the day. I think they didn't really give them an opportunity to keep the goals. There was one that I know they turned down. It was leveled out of D-Mac's radar. But other than that, I think the Crusaders' discipline was, and they won the territory battle as well. So a lot of the penalties they received, the Chiefs was in their own half. And also, at Christchurch, kicking in that conditions is not easy. There is a wind, it's an open top stadium, so it's not the best and the easiest place to kick to goals. We saw D-Mac missing that one. So I don't really think they really had that much penalties in the Crusaders half where you can really look and fault Luke Jacobson, in terms of not taking the points. There was a few there was one that I can remember, it was out of D-Mac's range, and the one he missed. But other than that, I think the Crusaders won the kicking back when they kept the Chiefs in their own half. And when they didn't consider penalty, it was more in the Chiefs half, not in the Crusaders half.
Sticking with that, Jade, looking at the kicking at this point, but Sean Stevenson, I think at the beginning or halfway through the season, we had an interview and it was talking about opportunities, etc., etc. And I thought to myself, oh man, you know what? You need to really prove yourself to be ahead of a Will Jordan, for example, right? There's no point. There's no need for a player to be complaining, for lack of a better word, in the media about selection, etc., etc. I mean, he's not going to be taking Will Jordan's position in that All Black team. It's highly impossible. And a guy like Sean Stevenson needed to stand up in yesterday's game, but a lot of aerial battles that he did not win, coughing up the ball, giving the ball to the Crusaders, and Crusaders earning penalties or scrums in the right areas of the game. And you needed a Stevie. Yes, he did score a try, but I mean, anyone could have scored from that situation. But at the end of the day, I expected more from him. I expected him to actually, even kicking that area, that territorial battle, Crusaders made sure in that second half they're just going to give nice up and unders. No credit to Noah as well, the scrum off from the Crusaders, pinpoint kicking. Because I've realized that international rugby today, or any day, it's mostly the nines that are kicking up and unders. It's not they don't give the ball to the 10 a lot. I think the 10s are usually kicking between the two 10-meter lines, but the 9s most of the time are kicking deep inside their own half for those aerial battles. The ball is traveling at least 10 to 15 meters within range for the wingers to chase, and then have those supporters behind. If there's a scrappy ball, they can pick it up. But yeah, Sean Stevenson, man. Before we jump to the British and Irish Lions and Argentina, what are your thoughts on Sean? Do you think he will get into an All Black team again?
No, he won't. He's off to Japan. So he's finishing up at the end of the season. So he's off to Japan permanently now. So I don't think he'll make the All Black team. But also when I criticized Sean Stevenson, I think of last year or so, and I say that he's a very, very good franchise Super Rugby player, but his defense, is not that good. And a lot of people look at it and think that, defense is always one-on-one tackling or so, but that defense is your positioning as well. How he's able to the way he positioned himself when it comes to the kicking battle. I think he gets found wanting there. Aerially, I expect more from him with the length that he does have. I mean, Will Jordan and Severis and Macca Springer, those guys, really bullied him in the air yesterday. So, for that aspect as well, he's a weapon on attack. He's got a good boot on him. However, defensively going backwards, that aspect of the game is not really his strongest. And to be an All Black, I mean, we've been there and we've seen it with the likes of Rokofoko and Sevivatu, and the focus that New Zealanders put now on the aerial battle, and even South Africans as well. Your wingers in your back has got to be solid under the eyeball, and I think that's maybe a standard in world rugby now at the moment. So I don't think he's up to that standard in terms of his defense and the eyeball. But yeah, he'll be an asset to whoever he joins in Japan. He's been a good servant to the Maori All Blacks as well. But yeah, unfortunately, that is ahead of him if you're looking at it. You have Ruben Love as well, Will Jordan. Those are the guys who are really competing for their 15 jersey. And you have Bowden and T-Mac, they can slot in there comfortably. So I think for him, I think he'll always go down as a one-cap All Black. He had one cap in Australia, but other than that, I think, I don't blame Razor for not selecting.
I'll tell you why he became an All Black and a one-cap All Black. Because he plays for the Chiefs. And guess who was coaching the All Black team at that time? A former Chiefs player, Fozzie. Oh.
And also, that at the time when he got when he made his debut, there's big talk of him going off to rugby league. So I think that was also something just to keep him in union, just give him that carrot.
Dangling carrots. Before you go, Jade, you and Vickers as well. Jade, is there somebody? Because tomorrow when we wake up in the morning, we will know who is in the All Black squad for the season or for the French tour. Is there someone who stood out for you, who you think should be getting an opportunity in that team for this season?
I've mentioned it before. I think it's going to be interesting to see who will be the sixth prop, because, it's given, who the other five will be. They've been there last year. So who will be the Lucid, the third choice Lucid to replace Fotonga Fassi? Will it be, what's the guy's name that played yesterday? Oli Norris, or will he go to, a Lumia or, Titua or somebody like that? And then also, a guy like Fabian Holland, we expect to be in the squad as the fourth choice lock. We expect him to be in the squad. We made this claim last year already. It was given that Raisi is looking at him. And then his Lucy's, what will his selection be? It's sure that, Ethan Blackhead approved yesterday that you can't select a squad without him. And then you have Audi and you have Satiti as well in there. And then you have, looking at your Jacobsons, your Finaus, Dalton Papalis, your Christian, Leo Willis. Who does he get in? How many Lucies does he take? I'm thinking maybe take 6 or 7 Lucies, into that squad. So who is and what does he do in terms of Tupusi Griffey? Does he give him a shot or not? Peter Laka as well. So there's a lot of good Lucies, but we're not sure if they're really All Black quality international standard Lucies. We know that, the Blackheaders for Satiti and Sevilla can do the job, and they're all world class on their day. But then the rest, who is that other Lucies? And then interesting to see what does he do with his backline. When Yule was admitted, it's a given that once the top 14 is done, Stefano and Luku comes into the squad. But what does he do with the likes of Tabata Nawai? Does he select him as a winger? Does he select him Does he select him as a center? Is he utility back? Who replaces Mark Delia? Is it Tava Tavanawai? So all of those questions will come into consideration tomorrow. And also, we want to see the way he's going to select. Last year, he went with a lot of hybrid players. I think this year, you'll see a lot of specialists. I think he'll do as what he done with the Crusaders, get a lot of specialists, picking guys at 15 only, picking a guy at 12, going to play center only, guys going to play wing only. Maybe you have Rico's and your Tavanawas that can cover and Jordy Barrett can cover, but, he's breaking away from this hybrid selections that has been a curse for All Black Rugby over the past few years. I think they're going to go more with selecting specialists and getting the best guys in certain positions.
Yeah. Griffin, I know you want to say Taumo Felau. You would probably want him to jump into that.
Yeah, I don't think he's eligible yet. I think he needs another year stand down from Tonga to be eligible because he played for Tonga in 23. So I think he needs it. But Jade stole the one I was going to say is Timichi Tavanawai. His stats, I know it's only at club level, but unbelievable. I think he got 30. We know he's the top player in Super Rugby for defenders beat and stuff like that. He's got all the razzle-dazzle stats. He got 30 turnovers in 14 games. 30 turnovers in 14 games. That's unbelievable. That's world-leading ability to win turnovers. So is he going to get the call? We already know he's not in the Fiji squad. So does that mean he's going to get the call for the All Blacks finally? And the other one for me is Leicester Fainga'anuku. His season's now over with Toulon. He's played his last game for Toulon. He was sensational for them. He was arguably their best player this season, probably definitely their best back. His gain line stats are superb. He's been playing at 13. So I'll be interested to see if Leicester gets the call up already, and is he going to start moving himself ahead of Rico for that 13 jersey alongside Jordy?
Ooh, he can't because he's not eligible. He has to play a few games in the NPC, to activate his contract actually. So because he's not contractable when New Zealand Rugby has to play NPC, so you might see him in the championship after playing a few rounds for. I think he plays for Tasman.
Up the fins. Vickers, is there a player for you that you want to see in this team? And then we jump to the British and Irish Lions and the Santiago Carreras.
No, but I to be honest, I haven't watched a lot of Super Rugby to make that comment. So I'll just pass on this one.
Highlights specialist, Vickers Miranda. All right, everyone. Griffin. Surprise. A team that probably had, what was it, 90%, 80% English players on Friday, and playing against, Argentina have a lot of players that are playing in Europe, and it almost feels like they're Harlem Globetrotters put together and then being thrown in a deep end to put out a performance. But yeah, there's a lot of talk about what happened on Friday. A lot of talk about selection, a lot of talk about the center pairing. But Argentina, nobody gave him a chance, actually. I probably didn't even give him a chance either. I thought it's an international side with the combination of four nations that's going to play against Argentina. Argentina probably not well prepared for this game. These were things that were running through my mind before the game kicked off. But looking at what transpired on Friday, what are your comments? And I think you also made a thread or you wrote an article about this or about the locks or about the flankers, something along those lines. But take us through your thoughts, and Vickers and Jade, you also can jump in there once Hugh's done.
Yeah, well, so I think firstly we need to just talk about how good Argentina are and how exciting Argentinian rugby is at the moment. They had that side that was missing the likes of Juan Cruz Malia, who I think is their best player. No Santiago Chocobares, no Mateo Carreras. He was playing for Bayonne. And I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple of extras as well. They had something like 2 training sessions together. Montoya was saying 2 training sessions. But they have that cohesion, they have that understanding. And most importantly, they have that identity. They know how they're going to play. Everybody comes into that camp knowing this is what's expected of me, and I believe that it works because they've seen that it works. And what Contapone has done, taking over from Checker with with this team, what he's managed to create with them is really special, and it's really fun to watch more than anything else. They're such a great team to watch. I think you referred to what I wrote there, Scoop. I wrote the thread about the line-out and the line-out worries that perhaps the Lions were going to have based on the selections that Andy Farrell had made. The locks were the locks. You know, I don't think there's too many locks that should have felt sad about missing out. But with the back row selections, you had a back row of Tom Curry, Henry Pollock, and Jack Morgan. You know, your best line-out option there is Tom Curry, and he only started doing line-out jumping this season, this Six Nations. You know, if you're not going to pick a Talupe Faletau, who is a proven line-out operator, you're putting a huge amount of pressure on the likes of Itoje and Byrne, who were ended up being the ones who took the majority of the line-outs. And in the first half, they went very safe with the line-outs. They went front, middle, Itoje, Byrne. But then in the second half, they went a bit more adventurous, but then it started going wrong. And you would expect that, you know, the lifts weren't quite there. And, you know, in this era, in this economy of international footy, you need your line-outs to be flawless. And even sometimes when the Lions were winning their line-outs, it was unclean ball and they weren't able to do much with it. But I think that was predictable, as in I literally predicted it. I literally predicted as well that Argentina would be no pushovers. Argentina, guys, let's not forget, are ranked above 3 of the 4 nations that make up the British and Irish Lions. Only Ireland are ranked above them. And then, you know, when you're missing, as a Lions team, you're missing the Leinster contingent, you're missing Finn Russell, that's going to have an impact. And, you know, by the time they brought the bench on Friday night, that was a Lions team that was always going to struggle to work cohesively. You know, they had a back line of Thomas Williams and Finn Smith playing together for the first time. They had Suni Tuipulotu had started at 13, moved to 12, with Elliot Daly playing 13 for the Lions in a test match in 2025, people. Then they had Mac Hansen on one wing. They had, who was it in the end? Tommy Freeman on the other. And then they had Marcus, my goodness, Smith playing at fullback. Look, guys, we can talk about Marcus Smith's qualities as a player and as a 10. Can we all agree that this nonsense of playing Marcus Smith at fullback at international level needs to end now? He cannot perform and in a 15 jersey at this level. It's over.
It's over. It is over. I noticed during this game, on a tactical attack pattern, there's a lot of short passes or offloads during contact. And I think maybe they're trying to play a fast game, expecting dry conditions in Australia, I'm assuming. It's winter now.
I was actually impressed by the Lions' attack. They clearly, you know, spent more time on the attack than on D in training, in the training that they've had so far. And they had cute things like they had the missed 2 passes off 9 in midfield, which is a very Jameson Gibson Park thing. They had overloading double wingers, so Freeman and Doohan were linking up on the same side at times. And like he said, the offloads were going. Although I do think that kind of suited Argentina as well. That's the game plan that Argentina want to play, and it worked for them as well. So I was impressed by the Lions attack, and I thought when Marcus Smith joined the attack as a second playmaker, that worked. It's just all of the other stuff that a 15 is expected to do that he's not able to do because he's a 10. He's not a fullback. So there were things that I was impressed. Obviously, the big one that I haven't mentioned is Ellis Genge at scrum time had Sclavi in a world of pain. He was getting him on the set. You could see when they were binding. Sclavi was up slightly. He was at an angle. He clearly wasn't comfortable. Genge had gotten underneath him on the bind, and then it was just absolute curtains from there. I do think you need to question Andy Farrell, the substitutions that he made, for example, taking Mario Itoje off, things like that. I don't understand why he would do that in that scenario. And you might say, okay, well, it's only a warm-up game, guys. It's only like a friendly, blah, blah, blah. This is the Lions. Losing is incompatible with the Lions brand. This is supposed to be the best of the best. Argentina are the highest-ranked team they're going to play on this tour. Australia ranked below Argentina. The tour games against invitational sides and the Super Rugby teams, not test level. This was their hardest game and they've lost it. On a team that markets itself as best of the best, that's unacceptable.
Boom. Drops mic. Vickers, your thoughts? I mean, Hugh has given us a mouthful to consider, to dissect, to break down, right? And I've also mentioned the whole tip passing or offloading game that they're trying to implement, maybe looking at the conditions, etc., looking at Marcus Smith, talking about doubling up, because you did see Duan van der Merwe coming and adding extra numbers on the blind, and the other winger, who was the other winger again? Who was the other winger? Remind me.
For the Lions or for Argentina?
For the Lions. Mitchell.
You had Freeman and
Duhan. Freeman, yes. Doubling up on the other side. I mean, Vickers, do you think it's a good tactic by the British and Irish Lions, this whole offloading game? I mean, the forward packs were not really that dominant in terms of trying to play percentage rugby. I mean, what are your thoughts on that game, and what do you think of this Lions team touring and going to Australia, and what will happen over there?
Look, I think what they have identified is maybe going with an expensive game against Australia is something that they think will work. I don't think they'll play the traditional Lions type of game where there's a lot of kicking bombs. There's a lot of slow, basically taking it slow. I don't think Andy Farrell is going with it. I think he's going with the game plan of let's beat Australia based on what we can use, not what we're traditionally known for. So I think that's why they were playing this expensive game. I like what you said, because it's something that I actually thought of, is that the attack actually didn't look so too bad. I think the only problem with the attack is the cohesion within the players, in terms of having played. Remember, you can train as much as you can, but if you don't play together, it becomes you still don't understand each other when it comes to that. I thought Argentina were brilliant in terms of, if only, Hugh always mentioned it in the group. I mean, we've always mentioned it in the space, is that if Argentina could just become more consistent, I think everyone would be worried. I think everyone would be sort of, every single game would be like, oh, it's a big worry, because they are so good when everything is working together. I mean, that long range try from their half when our best fly off, we rated him as the best fly off last year. I was at Albanos. He was like
Thomas.
That line break. Offload, cover through. That's like typical Argentinian rugby, and it's beautiful to watch. And that's why I always wish these guys could just be more consistent. Because if they could be more consistent, I think they'll see better results. I mean, going into the 2027 World Cup. Yeah, but other than that, I think for me, I didn't take too much on the selection, because we all know it's a warm-up game. But as Hugh mentioned, it is the best. It's a missed opportunity, because it is the best opposition they'll play, higher ranked than Australia. So maybe giving the guys that your main team this game would have probably been more beneficial, because most of these players are probably seeing them playing. Okay, not most. Let's say some of these players, you'll probably see them playing in the midweek games, basically. So, but for me, I think, look, I like the way they're attacking. It's going to be very nice to see. And obviously, they've studied Australia. They've seen there's some weaknesses. We must remember Farrell took over from Joe Smith, so he knows exactly how Joe Smith works, and also the fact that he's got a little bit of quality in his bank now, Farrell to use. Maybe that's why they went for the expensive game. Yeah, based on this game plan, it's very interesting, the center combination they went with, but I actually liked it. I think they complemented each other quite well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see when they start.
Testing the waters. That is what's currently happening, Jade, regarding the selection, regarding the game plan, the tactics, going to Australia. Argentina, unmatched, frivolous, and not scared to take chances, which was good to see. Because then we should also be worried, as Rugby Championship is in what, 2 months' time at this point, and if Argentina are this scary away from home, it's not going to be easy for the All Blacks. It's not going to be easy for Australia. It's not going to be easy for the Springboks. Because I think the Boks are playing away in Argentina this year, and New Zealand are hosting them, or New Zealand is away this year. But nonetheless, it's a very good side, this Argentina side, and they look like a well-oiled machine, actually, to be honest. And obviously playing against the best of the best in a combination of four nations on Friday, and still coming off with a beautiful win away from home is good for rugby, healthy for the sport. But yeah, your thoughts on Friday's game? What stood out for you? Do you see the British and Irish Lions also maybe going to Australia and going 3-0?
It's too early to say, Luke. I mean, we know our Lions series is the Lions get stronger as the tour gets longer. They get stronger and they come together. We know when you play Argentina, we said it before. You got to take them set piece to set piece, and you got to ensure that your set piece is as good. Yes, the Lions were good at scrum time in the first half. They were shaky at line time. When you're not gonna function on attack, when you're gonna start to knock balls on, start to create turnovers, you're not cleaning up correctly, you're allowing Argentina to get over the ball. Your chase lines is not correct, when you're kicking up and under. That's when Argentina's really difficult to play against, because if you're not in sync against this team, if you're not gonna go set piece to set piece and do your basics right, you're gonna get a tough time against Argentina. If you're going to do your basics right against Argentina, you can give them a big score. It can be a 30-40 point game. We've seen it. But if you're going to give them a snuff, allow them anything, they're going to hurt you. And I mean, we spoke about it last year and we rated, the loose trio of Oviedo, Gonzalez, and Matera is arguably the best loose trio in the world. I mean, we saw it again the weekend. They were immense, that the three of them, regardless of, what Carreras and everybody else did in the back line. That was the foundation they had. At scrum time, they struggled, Argentina. The Lions took a positive there. But if you're looking at a guy like Andy Farrell and his selection, and you're looking at, what he was doing, trying to see, in his starting 15, he only coached 3 of those guys. There's only 3 Irish players in his starting 15. So he gave a lot of guys, an opportunity, and he's starting to know and starting to see how certain guys can fit into his plan. I mean, everybody's familiar. I mean, you study and you get so much IP as being an international rugby player. So you know what Andy Farrell wants, you know what he demands. Every player there, whether they played for Ireland, Scotland, Wales, or England, they're aware what Andy Farrell wants, and what is the message is there, that what he demands from him. So for him to see which of these players, can fit into what I want to do, and instead of just getting picking the best team on paper, it doesn't work like it. He's got to pick players that's going to fit into his philosophy best if he's going to beat Australia. Because you can't go ahead and say, listen, let's pick this team on paper and who's on current form. Doesn't always work like that when you're getting a team like this, You've got to look at what you want to achieve, what your plan is as a coach, and you've got to select the best players that you will fit, that you think will fit into your philosophy the best. So I think in terms of that, Andy Farrell, you'll get a better idea and more knowledge on his players as he works longer with him. Going into the tour, I think when you get to the Anzac test, when he plays the Anzac team, I think there he will have his strongest team, more or less. He'll know, because I think he's set on his locks and he's set on his centers. I think that too is where he's set on, but the rest he does not know what his combination, what's going to happen there. So as he gets long into the tour, you'll get a better understanding of the players and how they fit into his plans. And do not take away, Joe Smith. Joe Smith knows exactly, what is the weakness of some of these players. He worked for Leinster, he worked for Ireland, he worked closely with a few of these players for years, especially Scoop. I mean, being the opposition coach, for Leinster, working with Leinster against Saracens, for example, you know exactly what's Doge's weakness. You know exactly what a certain player's weakness. And He's a very attention to detail coach. So he'll also have a few tricks up his sleeve. So I'm not gonna call this now. I'm gonna sit on the fence. Let me see how they flow and let me see how they get, once they play a few franchises after the Anzac test, then I'll make a call. Because right now it's too early to call. Like I said, Carroll has his plans. We need to get these players to fit in there. Too early, too early. It would be better than Gatsball. Remember the last Lions tour? I think arguably there was no spectators. It was just a whole bunch of kicking. John Cowan fell asleep. Foster got bored. Remember that? But this Lions tour is much better, it seems. I think it's going to be much more.
It's going to be fireworks. It's going to be fireworks. I'm seeing a 2-1, but I can't tell you who is winning 2-1. But it's going to be fireworks, that's for sure. I mean, there's no way, guys. I mean, Australia lost. For me, I'm looking at it from a Wallabies performance away from home at the end of the year tour. Very close games. A score within it, 2 points here, 3 points here, winning at the death here and there. Looking at how England performed in the Six Nations beginning of this year. They were number 2 out of the 4 nations. They were number 2 in the Six Nations, rather. And Ireland, I don't know. They're still a strong side, don't get me wrong. But I don't know. They're not as good as they were in the earlier years of this decade. Like your 2021s, 22, 23, 24 things were okay, good enough, but 25, you can end of the year 2024, they were okay. I think the Allblacks hurt them in 2023, and they hurt them again at home. Australia went there, they lost by 2 points or 3 points or something like that, and it wasn't. Australia, yeah, probably not convincing in certain games, but still put up a massive effort in the end of the year tour. So I think at home, and after such a good Super Rugby season, Joe Schmidt probably now has an idea of how he wants to play. Also, some of the overseas players are coming back or are back already. He does have good depth within his squad as well. It's going to be very tight, man. Oh, it's going to be very tight. But at the same breath, I think this British and Irish Lions team combined can be lethal as well. Very dangerous. But maybe at 15, there could be, I think 15, 10, we already know. Midfield, yeah, man, Lenz Ikitau, do not take him for a sloucher. Paisami, Hunter, in that midfield for Australia, they're no slouches either. But Noah versus Finn Russell, 10 battle. Halfback, Gibson Park probably starts ahead of Mitchell, I guess. But yeah, Gibson Park as well. He's probably not in his top form like he was two seasons ago. There's a lot to it, and it's going to be a battle of the specialists, your 10s, your 9s, your midfield. 15, I think Australia might have a better 15 than the British and Irish Lions in this case. There's going to be a lot, especially in that forward pack as well. Skelton needs to show up and really, really add value in that engine room. Loose forward, if he starts with the Irish guys at loose forward, I think Australia might just take this. But it depends. It depends. We will see, guys. We will see. Other news making headlines. Jake Johannes White. Trouble in paradise. Lots of rumors being thrown around. Lots of whispering. What's his name, Jade? Verochi Di Corridoio. What? What does he say again? John Cowan. What a freaking mess. Yeah. What's happening over there in Blue Bulls country? Johan Ackerman apparently has been contacted to come and take over. People are saying the Blue Bulls must break the bank and bring Johan van Graan. Talk to me. The murmurs.
I think Jake's lost the dressing room, Scoop. I think he lost the dressing room, and it's been a philosophy or something, not a philosophy, but a case, a scenario that we've seen in European football where coaches lost the dressing room, and I don't think there's any turning back. There's so many leaks, going out to media in terms of players not being happy and stuff like that. And I mean, that's one thing. And we do know with the African rugby, you don't get a lot of rumors, leaked into the press like that. So I think he's lost the dressing room. I think senior players are concerned, frustrated. And I think also it's been coming on for a while. That's why he went on like that last week when he lost that game. So I think the writing's on the wall for Jake. Don't be surprised if there is movement at the Bulls in terms of a director of rugby, maybe getting in Van Graan or Ackerman as the same. But yeah, I think Jake lost the dressing room. And I think, the players, the senior players, seen it and notice it. And I think there's a few of those guys driving for change.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's got a very senior team. I wonder who are these players that actually leaked some of the stuff, because, I mean, people are talking about not having comms with his assistant staff during that final, because you also didn't see his brother Rousseau next to him during the game. You didn't see the other assistant coach or forwards coach as well next to him during that final. He was sitting with this other guy. I'm not sure who he was. But, I mean, when you saw the Leinster coaching staff, you had everyone, really, literally front row seats during that game. But with Blue Bulls, it was just two people only. And, yeah, at times you also wonder as to what's happening, But, Vickers, do you think Jake will leave the Blue Bulls?
Yeah, there's no smoke without fire, bro. Look, I think whatever's happening, obviously there's someone leaked something. There's always that someone leaked something and something is going to happen. For me, I always feel like, when players, when people talk about coach losing the change room, I don't think it is that. Look, the saying, obviously, because I'm a coach, I don't like it, because I feel like, how do you lose a change room? The only way things happen in a team is that if you, as a coach, are taking a stance to change the way you see the future. For example, if Jake is talking about getting international players, some of the senior players know that they are in trouble in terms of their jobs. So in that case, they're always going to retaliate in terms of fighting with words like that, or trying to get to the CEO. Or if you are talking about using young players to replace the old stock, because the old stock has gone to 3 finals and lost 3 finals. So now it's about high time we give other guys a chance. The old players are going to come back and say, no, we got the experience, but you haven't won anything. So for me, that saying it's a little bit unfair. And also, we also have to remember, if you're going to give a coach the leeway and say, look, get the team to win, this is what's happening, how much, this is the budget. If that was the case from the beginning, then he hasn't done his job. But if you do look at the success of the club in terms of the youngsters that is brought through, the players that he revived from not being noticed into something good, he's done well with the club. But maybe the club is looking at trophies. Trophies is what we want. It's not about a Hanacom that no one knew about, now is a Springbok. It's not about Kenan Moody that no one knew about, now is a Springbok. It's not about, for example, Statement Khan's coming from Sevens into now a mix and is already he's a quality player. So it's not about that. Those are the kind of things that only the club management knows on what has happened. Because if you look at the creating depth for the club, I think the Bulls have created quite a good depth, and they've used some of the good young players even ahead of the older guys. And yes, it is tough once you get injuries. And it's always, unfortunately for coaches, it's always the seasons where you pick up a lot of injuries and then everyone just scrutinizes everything that you do. So, yeah, it's a little bit tough, man. Like I said, there's no smoke without fire. There's definitely something happening. And we'll probably find out in a few weeks on what is happening there in the Blue Bulls.
Fair.
But, but again, Scoop, we it's only just us saying this.
Yeah.
For me, I think, again, it goes back to the same thing. What was the main conversations that they've had? Because if you look at the Bulls' success and you look at the Stormers, everyone will probably say the Stormers are better. They're better success because they've got a cup. Whereas the Bulls have actually reached the final more times than the Stormers. So those are the kind of interesting things that are happening. So yeah, it just depends on what the management is talking about. Or what was the conversation?
No, fair enough. Griffin, Veroche de Corredoyo, what are your thoughts on this?
I think, although I don't know what you just said to me, you could have said anything to me just there.
Apparently it's Italian. Don't worry.
Okay.
Whispers in the corridor, apparently.
Right. So let's be honest, guys. We've heard these rumors for a little while now. We've all heard them from multiple places. Look, I think in terms of the job that Jake has done at the Bulls, it's both very good in that getting to 4 finals since the South African guys came up north is not to be sniffed at. And I think if you're judging him based on not winning those finals, I think it's fair, but it's also a very high bar. So I think, has he done a good job at the Bulls? Yes. However, the rumors seem to be that the players aren't happy with maybe other stuff that isn't just related to the performances. Maybe there's some politics in that dressing room that they're not happy with, without going into too many details. So, look, I think the Bulls should have, as a club, as an organisation, you always need to be thinking about a change. If you're a sporting organisation, whether it's a rugby team, football team, whatever, you always need to be thinking about who's on your list. And if Ackerman's already been contacted, then that suggests that they had a list there. Although the stories that I've heard is that the Bulls CEO is very, very pro Jake. So, look, if there's a toxic situation there between Jake and the players, we've heard Jake constantly saying, like, every week, Scoop, on this podcast, I need different players, I need better signings, I need better players. It's easier to change the one guy than to change the 30-odd other guys. So, that's the maths, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, the CEO... didn't Jake bring the CEO to the Blue Bulls himself? They're very close. They've got a very long relationship together. So, I don't think the CEO will ever turn his back on Jake White. And also, I just think this is a storm in a teacup at this point. And I don't think Jake White will leave. I mean, if he leaves, that'll be an explosion. But I don't think Jake White will leave the Bulls franchise. I think everyone at board level, C level, directors, CEOs, all believe in Jake. And Jake just wants more money. And he just wants more players. And that's it. And I think I like what Vickers pointed out as well in terms of, hey, maybe a rift between senior players and the coach could be something that is taken place right now. But obviously, those things, you can always squash them down as quickly as possible. And if it is certain players that have probably ganged up, quote unquote, up against Jake, and he finds out who those players are, and we probably don't see those players staying at the Bulls for another season, or don't get game time, So things like that. I mean, if you're a coach and you have so much power, I think Jake has way too much power at the Bulls. It's almost like that other guy that's coaching the Box, almost running the show from head to toe. He basically owns that franchise at this point. I mean, if no coach has ever gone, hey, I want this particular CEO to take over the franchise. I mean, that's never happened. You come into an organization and the CEO is already there. And in that case, there's never going to be a rift between those two. They don't think the Bulls would drop a coach of Jake White's caliber at this point. Has taken them to 3 finals. Yes, they haven't won, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's still been a successful season, I think, or successful term. Because they've made it through the finals. They've played finals away from home. They've played final at home. It's a pity. The bounce of the ball didn't go his way at this point. But yeah, I mean, things like this, they do cause a bit of chaos. It's nice to see headlines and people running around like headless chickens around this conversation, around this story. But at the end of the day, me personally, I don't think Jake will leave. This will be squashed very soon, and everyone moves on going forward. Guys, moving on to probably our last conversation. International games coming up this coming week. Do you have any idea who's playing where? Let me have a look, actually. The fixtures that are coming up soon. Download the calendar. Nope, I don't want to download the calendar, unfortunately. Just give me a second, because I thought I had this open in front of me. Jade, you've gone too quiet, huh?
I mean, I'm too quiet. I'm waiting for you to open the calendar, bro.
This thing is not coming up. Wait.
I think Georgia is touring South Africa and not just playing the box.
As in
they got a game. The Cheetahs the week before they play the box, actually. It's actually nice for a team like Georgia, to get some.
Speaking of the Cheetahs, let's not forget what Frans Steyn said this week, huh?
Yeah, Frans Steyn's a wise man.
All the South Africans are up in arms, not wanting to come back to Super Rugby. I know these guys, Springboks are, Springboks. South African fans are really missing Super Rugby. It goes without saying, It's understandable. Vickers, I'm sure you also want to throw a headline there and we can send it to Sunday Times for next week, that you also think it's better for South African teams to be in Super Rugby because Springboks are playing too much football.
No, bro, I don't even actually think like that. I'm actually look, I've experienced Super Rugby as a coach. I've experienced Pro 14, which is now the URC.
Yeah.
I still think the URC is far better than especially now that you've got the Champions Cup. So meaning that you can actually play the French teams and the English teams. So that's like the best of everything. For me, I just think, look, Super Rugby lost out back then. Funny enough, Sansa was started by South Africa and New Zealand. Then they later roped in, I think, Australia. So now that they roped in Australia, Australia turned on them, and then they obviously made New Zealand turn on them, and which is why they left. So it's funny how those things start. But yeah, this is what it is.
Fair enough. Guys, don't mind what Vickers said there in the beginning, but just worry about what he said in the end. So we've got Namibia and Italy, Pumas, Uganda. Oh, Pumas from Mpumalanga. What a mess. And then the Maori All Blacks, Jade, against Japan 15. England losing to France, Hugh. What is happening? X-15.
Yeah, it was officially an uncapped England 15, France 15 game. Although England went pretty strong. It was basically England minus their Lions. France team is even weaker than the team they're going to send to New Zealand. And France won. Actually, England were winning by 2 scores with 10 minutes to go and stuffed it up in the final 10.
That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. But yeah, Maori All Blacks also, Scotland is playing against Maori All Blacks back-to-back. And then Hugh, Japan against Wales. I see Gary Gold, former Springbok assistant coach, used to work with Jake White. I see he's been roped in by Eddie Jones as a defensive coach, apparently. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think, actually, Vickers, do you think any coach can shift around positions in terms of, can you 1 year become an attack coach and then 1 year become a specialist defensive coach?
Look, it's easy, Scoop. You can, especially because if you look at Gary Gold was at the USA, he probably was doing defense for the USA team, but obviously you can't compare the two. Japan and USA are probably they totally different level. So I think in my mind you can, but it's a matter of obviously, are you coming into someone with already their theories on defense? Like probably Eddie Jones already has his theories on defense, and you're gonna fit into the system, or are you bringing in your totally new defense system, like we would say Jacques Namba brought into Leinster. So that's basically it. It's basically just finding out what is actually happening. Maybe because Gary Gold maybe has worked with I think he wasn't he working with Jake White and Eddie Jones in 2007, or was Gary with,
they were all together.
Yeah, so they probably have a good relationship. Not a relationship, but maybe like good professional relationship.
Yeah.
So maybe in that sense they know each other. They know each other's thinking style, and they probably decided to bring him in because I know Gary Gold was at the USA, so he has been there for years now. So the USA probably got a new coach now lining up that job.
Fair enough. So next weekend, we do have South Africa Barbarians as well. So it'll be interesting to see who Rassie picks for that game. And then the week after, I think that's when real test football starts. You've got Maori Allblacks against Scotland. Hugh, your players are traveling to Japan. Hopefully we can break that egg. Wales versus Japan, and then New Zealand against France, South Africa versus Italy. Oh, nice for Georgia. Jade, apparently they play Ireland. You were talking about them playing against the Cheetahs. And then you've got Brazil against Argentina 15, Chile versus Romania, Argentina versus England. That should be a nice one. And then USA against Belgium, which will probably be good. I think Belgium are going to be playing some qualification games as well for the World Cup during this period, because I know when they beat Netherlands, they advanced to repechage the competition. Australia, before they play the British and Irish Lions, play Fiji, which will be a nice tester for them, physicality. But they're playing in Australia. I wish they could have played in Fiji for that test, actually. That would have been a nice one, because then that would give them a good preparation for the British and Irish Lions. And then that kicks off the week of the 11th and 12th. But nonetheless, parting shots, Griffin, Vickers, and Jade. You can start, if you have something. Nah.
Sorry, is this parting shots?
Parting shots, yes.
I don't have any plans this week. I like to save them up and have a big one.
Fair enough. Vickers, your final thoughts?
Yeah, nothing much, but I could be missing the space next week. I'll probably be traveling.
Oh,
so, yeah. But anyway, it's all good, gents. It's all good.
Nighthawk Vickers every Sunday from 2 weeks' time from now. Jade, last comments?
My last comment is, am I the only one that didn't know who's playing in the top 14 final next week?
Oh, yeah, Hugh, you need to update us, eh?
On what, sorry?
Top 14 final.
Who's
playing?
So Toulouse beat Bayonne in quite a close game. People thought that was going to be a blowout, but it turned out to be quite a close one, quite scrappy. And then UBB beat Toulon quite comfortably. Everyone thought that was going to be a close game, and UBB really did a job on them. It was kind of a disappointing season for Toulon, really. You'd say that their squad overall, maybe not their first 15, but their squad is probably stronger than Bordeaux's. But Bordeaux have gotten into the final. It's a repeat of last year's final, which was Toulon against Bordeaux. And trivia fact, Toulouse's, who are in the final, Toulouse's first ever final appearance was against Bordeaux 100 years ago. Over 100 years ago. And they lost it. But they won the last one by a record margin. So there's some scores to settle in the top 14 final this weekend. The Bordeaux have beaten Toulouse 3 times this season already. So there's precedent there. But I think everyone still thinks that Toulouse are the favourites.
Fair enough. It'll be interesting to see if UBB can go back or can get a double. I mean, that'll be great. I think besides Toulouse, I don't think any other one. Toulouse and Toulon, maybe back in the day, probably did have it.
Leinster have done it, and Saracens have done it.
There we go. It'll be nice to see. I mean, I think Bordeaux deserves this, and I don't see them performing as good from next year onwards, because unless they make some buy more players to kind of back up what they currently have. The talent is there in France. I mean, it goes without saying. And guys, thank you very much for joining another episode of the Rugby Scoop. We will see you during the week. And I see there's so many comments around this post about the Crusaders, the number 1 team in the world.
Yes, guys.
Cheers, guys. Have a wonderful Sunday. Have a wonderful week ahead. And we'll see you next week, Sunday.
Cheers. Guys. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.